Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Conservation Conversations. We've had a little 2 week break, but it's really a pleasure to be back because we are fresh with inspiration back from Love Trails Festival. It wasn't a Stornoway gig this time, although the majority of the band did attend and really had a good time there. Personally, I was there to lead a couple of trail runs and play a bit of music. But mostly to soak up the wonderful atmosphere at Love Trails Festival. Cannot recommend it highly enough. It's probably the best festival experience I've ever had. And we've been there twice now, 2024 when Stornoway played the main stage, and 2026 when it seemed to be even bigger and better and busier than ever. They've also expanded into Croatia and talking about plans for other things soon. So jump on the Love Trails bandwagon as soon as you can. I think it's already sold out for 2027 to some extent. I think the early birds have sold out, so get on the waiting list if you can. Full of energy and excitement coming back from that one. Saw a couple of bands that were very inspiring. One was called Ben Cipolla. He's a Sicilian jazz singer and guitarist, really inspirational. And saw Nubian Twist. They were always really good fun on the festival stage. Okay, that's the update. We are also selling our tickets for the Beyonder tour at the moment. So we're going to see you on the road in October for that, through to November, plus February dates. Grab your tickets now if you can, because they are starting to sell very, very fast. We've still got 2 headline festival appearances coming up next month. That's Found Festival and Compton Festival, as well as some other dates to be announced soon. I can't wait to share the news with you for that. But with all the Stornoway news update out the way, I want to return your thoughts back to March 2025, when Stornoway were invited to play at the Manchester Folk Festival. So last year, almost 18 months ago now, we started to get really inspired by looking at the folk music acts that were being booked for Manchester by the Sound Roots group, who coordinate that event, and then returned this year because having had such a good time in 25, I thought I want to go back in 26 and see what they've got to offer. And I got to see and meet one of the most exciting bands on the folk circuit at the moment. They're also really into hiking, which is not only a passionate sort of pastime for Stornoway, but something that's informed our songs lyrically, explicitly in the lyrics. We talk about hiking. If you wanted to go check out the lyrics for The Great Procrastinator, for instance, or think about the journeys that we like to inspire people to do with songs like Fuel Up and Boats and Trains. Oh yeah, the band who I'm about to introduce you to are also really into train travel, because that's how they connect their tours together. Lots of hiking, lots of public transport. Without further ado, please welcome, from the most amazing Filkins Drift, Chris. Hello, Chris. It's great to have you here and talk to you for our conservation conversation.
Hi, Ollie. Thanks for having me.
It's great to catch up. Seeing as we got so much good time together in March, we ended up going and watching some of the music together at Manchester Folk Festival. Any particular highlights you want to share with the audience?
I think my favourite was I think it was the Catalan showcase. Yeah, just like an amazing variety. I've forgotten their names. I have to look them up. But there was an incredible female duo who kind
Alosa.
of blew Alosa duo, Alosa. Yeah. Amazing like harmonies, and like for 2 of them, just so many different instrumentations. And again, I've forgotten the name, but maybe you'll know, the kind of slightly bonkers big band that was after them.
Sure. Yeah, I can't
Just
remember their name. I remember in between, though, there was Ferran Oriol, who has been a guest on this podcast, and I'm a big fan of his band stuff as well. He
oh
uses bird
yes.
song in some of his music, and seems to be very inspired by them in the way that Stornoway are. So we connected as well in Manchester. But
Oh,
yeah,
amazing.
Alosa with the tambourine playing and the beautiful harmonies. Um, wow, what a band!
Yeah, quite a sound.
So, what have you guys been up to, Filkins Drift wise, since the festival?
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of, I think we were mid tour then, basically. So we kind of finished up that, and then I went kind of straight into doing a solo tour, again, still all by train and bike, um, and kind of trying to. I've been experimenting more with not only touring like by sustainable means, but also trying to tour a bit more slowly. And so in each place, not just doing a show and then leaving, kind of thing. but trying to do some sort of workshop. Or in Cornwall, I ended up doing a sort of 3-day schools tour as well as the public gig. Yeah, which was just super, super rewarding to just kind of slow everything right down. And like, I feel like I've actually been to the places that I've played in now, rather than just kind of seeing the venue. Yeah, so that kind of brings us up to about now, really. Just been enjoying the sunshine here in London for the last few weeks.
Great. What's the longest cycling tour that you've done, or leg of a tour done by bike?
I mean, this was the first. To be honest, the longest bike ride I think I've ever done was actually when I was about 12 years old. Me and my dad did the Taff Trail, which is about 50 miles, starting in Brecon and finishing in Cardiff. And actually, since then, I've never done a particularly long journey. I kind of, on this tour and future ones, I've got one of these little folding Bromptons. It's an absolutely ancient one, so it weighs a ton. But I use that to kind of connect up where the trains and the buses can't quite get you, basically. So there was a particularly nice cycle I did on the Cornwall tour, going from a school in Bodmin, which was called the Beacon School, and I should have guessed from the name that it was going to be right on the top of this hill, all the way down across like loads of amazing kind of country lanes to visit an artist who's done lots of the work on my singles, who's down in St. Column Major. So that was a particularly nice day, and was very, very lucky with the weather as well, because it could have been a bit more difficult.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, as a cyclist and a hiking enthusiast, I would totally love to spend the rest of this time asking you about the fine details, like the gear and the nutrition and how you program in your GPS and all that stuff. But I better move on to talking about the train aspect. So, have you ever had a train like cancel or delay to the extent that you've missed the show, as happened to us last July? I don't know if you read about us on the Eurostar.
No.
It was an absolute disaster.
Oh no. Gosh. Yeah, no, I've never missed a show. We've been touring like this for about a year, I think. And it's all been fine, but we had an ensemble gig just last week. And I'd sort of planned, I had stuff to do the next day, basically. So I'd planned to basically get the last train home after this gig in Stafford. And that afternoon found out that it was cancelled. And so I just couldn't get home. Found someone, slept on someone's floor, go back to the station the next day. And all of the trains to London are cancelled again. But this time because there was a load of cattle on the line.
Yeah.
So yeah, it throws all sorts at you. But I've never missed a gig, thankfully. Just a bed.
Well done. Yeah, and I think on behalf of all the venues and promoters, I would thank you, because I know how tough it can be when artists make plans and then the plans get disrupted and everyone loses out. But yeah, well done. That's. I think that's a glowing report that puts. I think other artists should aspire like you to not miss a gig, and I will try and be better as well myself.
I think this is it. It's kind of sort of partly the slow touring thing now.
Yeah.
I don't mind leaving a lot of time and getting to a place really early.
Okay. Yeah.
Partly because I'm then not stressed at all, and then also you have some time in the place and you can kind of get to know it and find things that you weren't expecting to find as well, which is always fun.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that as well explicitly, the term slow touring, because there is this group online, Slow Ways, who have now developed a sort of different persona called Good Ways. So whether it's Slow Ways or Good Ways, it sounds a bit like what you're doing there. They're encouraging and enabling people around the UK, especially those who might otherwise not be able to take part in the typical routes or travel approaches that most people have access to. Slow Ways and Good Ways are actual paths that are being mapped out, and they've pretty much mapped the entire country. but they're getting it done by accepting volunteer submissions. Okay, what was this path like for you to walk? What did you see when you adventured to this off-beaten place, off the beaten track? So you might want to, I don't know, maybe you guys are already aware of them, but I could totally imagine a partnership between Drift and Slow Ways or Good Ways, because you kind of seem to be doing exactly what they're doing. The other one is very exciting, is the British Pilgrimage Trust, and
Oh
they
yes.
have something to do with, yeah, taking folks out on long walks and deliberately slowing it down so that they can explore the rituals and traditions and histories of different locations.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned Slow Ways because, funnily, got 4 or 5 years ago, I can't remember how long. They did I think it was some sort of artist in residence kind of project, and they gave grants to a few different community groups to have an artist come and work with them, and they were really open about what that could be. And so I ended up working with a great community group at St. Germain's Church in Birmingham, where I used to live. It was sort of literally 3 doors down. And we spent about, I don't know, a month or even two, once a week, just going out for a walk down one of these slow ways, which we sort of discovered there were so many around us and so many like really beautiful sort of green spaces that you could get out to in, people, when people think of Birmingham, you don't think green space generally. But it was amazing to kind of find these little pockets and explore both the nature but also the history of all these places. Some
Yeah,
of them were old railway lines. One of them was an old brewery that, when it got demolished, was reclaimed and turned into a nature reserve. And we wrote a song together. We'd go for a walk and then have a songwriting session each week. And it turned into a beautiful song that kind of like looked back to the history and the journeys that people made historically, like sometimes by train down these slow ways, and then also kind of looked at the journeys that the people who were writing the song had made to be at that moment in their lives.
I see.
um and it was just such an amazing kind of marriage of like nature and creativity. um and yeah, and we always had a nice bit of food as well, which I always think helps.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. So, I mean, this definitely takes us onto our conservation conversation questions. You may have already answered it in a sense, the first question I'll ask you, but perhaps it'll also inspire a different answer or different choice here. So, I'm going to ask Chris about places and how natural places relate to music making. Is there a place that you consider has influenced your creativity, and particularly if it's a place that brings nature into the process of enjoying or making your art?
Yeah, I was reading these questions earlier, and actually this was the one that I kind of struggled most with, because quite often, if i'm if I'm in nature, like whether that's just in the local park, or in the middle of Eryri, or Snowdonia, um I kind of want to just be in nature and not be thinking about music.
Mm.
And almost the opposite as well, like at a gig, and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but if it's a gig and there are kind of natural sounds um sort of pre-recorded and used as part of a piece, it's an interesting sound to me, but it doesn't take me into nature, if that makes sense. But actually, what I hadn't thought about was that songwriting project, and what a brilliant sort of state of mind it put us in as a group, like creatively, but also kind of communally.
Mm.
Going and walking and exploring a beautiful place and having that shared experience, and then going to a really focused space and like writing together. It kind of meant that when we were in nature, we were completely like tuned to that, and when we were doing the music and the creativity, we were completely attuned to that. um because I think that's the biggest way it works for me. If ever I'm feeling a creative block or something, um my first instinct is to double down, and that never ever works. And the next thing is like, right, I'll go for a walk, and like 10 times out of 10 that does work.
Mm.
um and you solve problems that you've been thinking about for weeks, and come up with ideas that you just can't come up with if you're sat at a desk or
Yeah,
sat in a room, kind of thing. So I think that's probably where the connection is for me.
I see.
Um,
Yeah, and I'm sure that inspires the whole idea of getting out on the road for your touring, because a lot of artists get out on the road just to play to as many people as possible. But it sounds like perhaps you guys are doing it because it actually helps the creative flow. So once you're out hiking, I'm sure you can't help but hear new musical ideas and have new kind of schemes come up for what you want to do with your talents.
yeah, absolutely. And equally, kind of, there's more time to talk to people, and especially with this Cornwall trip, because I think I spent 5 days there, but only did one gig. Um, just meeting loads of great musicians, like there was time to go to like local folk sessions, where I
Mm.
sort of learnt new tunes and saw sort of new combinations of instruments, or chatted to people about all the kind of local traditions that have survived in these particular kind of Cornish villages, um, and sort of starting to think about the connections that those have to Wales, because they're kind of quite culturally similar.
Mm.
So yeah, it was kind of, yeah, it sort of feels to me like a perfect way to to do it. You get so much more inspiration from the natural world and from people who are kind of really proud of their area and their traditions.
Yeah, great. Well, yeah, I think Manchester Folk Festival was so good for bringing people in from so many different parts of the world, and these far-flung musical traditions and histories that get represented there and then discussed, and especially in the idea of the Sound Roots mentoring pathway that I know Falcon's Drift benefited from in the past couple of years. Do you want to tell us briefly anything about the mentoring pathway and what that was like to be part of and supported by?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic scheme that I'm so glad it exists, and would be glad even if we hadn't been able to do it, if you see what I mean, because
Mm.
it's such a brilliant thing for the folk scene in particular, and the music kind of industry in general. Um, because you kind of go through a process of one-to-one mentoring with an industry specialist, once a month, which in itself was just unbelievably valuable, and kind of helped me sort of see what we do as musicians as part of an ecosystem, really, and to stop seeing um, people as gatekeepers as such. And actually, it really helped
Mm.
me understand, um, when someone says something, you're not ready, or you're not quite right for this gig or this record label or whatever it might be. 9 times out of 10, that's not because they want you to fail or because they want their mate to do it instead. It's because genuinely you aren't ready, or you're not quite right. And so it really reframed a lot of things, and kind of made me feel like much more in control of our music career, kind of thing. I really have an understanding now of, um, if we do want to do those things, how you can get there, and like who to ask for help, um, because that's like a massive thing. Even if people say we can't help you by giving you XYZ deal, we can help you with all this great advice or put you in touch with these other people. Um, and as well as just being part of a great community of other artists who are going through the same thing, the same mentoring process.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
That's brilliant to hear. Been really, yeah, happy to see that scheme working for several years now, and I hope it long may it continue. Um, the question that I want us to get to through that topic was talking about tradition in music and about how you in Filkin's Drift either do this yourselves or maybe you're inspired by seeing others do this. It's the blending of the old and the new, and I wanted to ask about your favorite example, whether it's your own work or something that has inspired you guys, about where you've seen musical tradition, folk tradition preserved and um, echoed into a performance, but also that same performance injected with something new and modern and innovative. So does that inspire any response from you?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think one of the people I'm most inspired by at the moment, anyway, and this is partly because I'm playing in his band, is Owen Shires of Cynefin, um, and his music, especially his latest album, um, it really like dives back into not just musical sort of history, but also kind of cultural and social things as well. And so it's called Shimley, which was the name of um, almost like a kind of sing around, a kind of folk session. It would basically take place when people were uh, I've forgotten the word, but it's sort of drying the oats basically once they'd sort of brought them in, and you had to keep turning them all night, and so you would invite people around, and some people would sort of share a poem, share a song, all this sort of thing. And he's kind of taken this idea and has got loads of songs that are related to both oat growing and also birds and conservation. Um, but the album as a whole just sounds like so fresh, and
Mm.
is one of the best kind of Welsh language song albums out there, really.
Yes.
Um,
This is the album that was submitted for the Folk Album of the Year awards, right? And was up in the nominations and made the final shortlist.
yes, yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah,
think I
which is
saw
amazing.
the music video and was very inspired by that. It was a very enticing sort of, what's the word, numinous blend of animation and then real footage, and just and with this really epic sweeping music over the top, watching these sort of anthropomorphized haystacks roaming the landscape. It
Yes.
just, who comes up with this stuff? And it made me glad, because in this age of artists sometimes being quite excited to outsource their creativity to AI, Cynefin is clearly doing something that is so brilliantly human and so creatively human. It comes from a really honest, kind of heartfelt place. And I'm just so grateful to the Folk Album of the Year award competition for introducing me to this artist, because now I've been listening to his stuff for ages. What an
Yeah.
exciting artist to be following.
Yeah, and it was an amazing event for that, wasn't it? There were so many albums that I hadn't heard. I think I probably knew like half of them and didn't know the other half.
Yeah.
And it really just sort of, yeah, opened my eyes and hopefully, yeah, loads of people's eyes
Yeah.
to just what's going on, what exciting things are happening in the folk world across the UK.
Yeah. And so
Um,
that album is called Shimley, but the track I think I'm talking about the video for was called Helmy. Is that correct?
yeah, and so Helmy, that if I'm not wrong, that track is he's setting a poem that I forget the author, but someone who's written about these helmi, which are kind of like corn stooks, basically, to dry the crops. And it kind of talks. You can almost hear it in the music. It talks about um, these helmi standing around the field, almost like a silent army, kind of
Mm.
protecting the village. And it's almost kind of got that military and you know that military kind of feel.
Yeah. So yeah, just really inspiring to see something that different and inventive. So thanks for picking that as your example. I mean, that's exactly what I was hoping we would end up talking about. The other artist it reminds me of, who sort of checked that same box for me over this weekend. I mentioned in the intro I was in the Gower Peninsula in Wales for the Love Trails Festival. If you guys haven't played that, I think you'd be brilliant at it, because Falcon's Drift, if you're hiking a lot, you guys could even lead some of the hikes. Like I've done a bit of that in the past, and then play music in the evening. So it's like, yeah, match made in heaven there. But in on the Friday night, or was it the Thursday night, I saw this wonderful singer guitarist Ben Chipola, who's Sicilian and has all these very beautiful jazz chords going on under a sort of almost George Ezra-ish kind of voice, but really, really, it struck me, it astonished me in the same way that Knevin's music has done, where in this time where we're all getting a bit jaded and cynical and thinking maybe music, it can just be done by computers. Actually, there are these wonderful humans out there, composers and innovators who are doing beautiful stuff. And I think on that note, I want to ask if Filkins Drift have anything particularly exciting coming up, new material, new tour dates that you want to tell the audience about.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite quiet in the Filkins world at the moment, really. I think we've got some dates that are sort of due to announce soon, so people can kind of look out for those. But I've got from a solo project, I've got a new track coming out on Friday, which is, again, it's sort of talking about looking back and looking forward. It's a reimagining of a tune from a medieval Welsh harp manuscript, but putting that in the context of kind of a contemporary sort of jazz ensemble, really. And yeah, and pairing it with a song, a more modern Welsh folk song called Pontypridd Ma'n Nghariad, which means my love is in Pontypridd. Yeah, so that's out soon.
Excellent. Out this Friday. Great. Well, I'll ask everybody then, first thing you do when you exit this video, go follow Chris Avery online and grab that new track when it's out this Friday. Cool.
Amazing.
Okay. Any last bits? Otherwise, I've asked you your 2 conservation questions, and yeah, we've chatted through some really good material there. Thank you so much for your time, Chris, and to everybody who's tuned in. It's been a pleasure to see you all, as usual. Every Tuesday, we'll be back next week with another exciting guest. Okay.
Oh, fantastic! Thanks so much for having me, Ollie. It's been a good chat.
Great. Excellent. Thank you, Chris. Thanks again for your time, and it's so exciting to hear your responses on those questions. I can't wait to hang out again soon. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Take care, everybody, and lots of love from me on